I'm strangely ahead of the game here right now, folks. Welcome back, friends. I'm Mare, and this is the April stash busting video, and I'm surprised that we've gotten this far, and I am keeping up as well as I am with my intended projects, because I finished the February and March projects in March. And now we're starting April. I get to pick a new monthly mystery project, which, if you're not sure what that is, there's explanations in all of the other videos previous to this, going back to about November. So I won't keep you. You can go back and take a look at those yourself. But the only things that I've got on the needles right now that I'm actively working on, that is my sweater, which is starting to really come together. I mean, I'm working on the body, and I've only got a couple more inches to go to get to total Canadian here. I've only got a couple more inches to go to get to 28 centimeters. So I'm probably at about high waist now, and I'm looking to get it down to my hip. It's starting to actually look like a sweater, and I'm very happy with that. The other thing I have on the needles is a resurrected unfinished object that I just sort of recast on because I needed a sock to put in my purse, just in case, because my sock was already finished. So this is the emergency backup sock. There is another sock in here that was done, I'm not sure, but I think this was toe up with an afterthought heel. The foot is not long enough for anybody in my family, and I'd kind of like to wear these colors. So, just casting back on, and if I get to the end and I find that I need more yarn, I'll just unravel this, pick up where I left off, because I had started on the inside of the ball. Easy enough just to start from the outside for the new socks, and if I need to pick up anywhere from here, unravel, reattach. If this month's project turns out to be socks, the emergency backup socks will get put on hold until they're needed again, at which point they'll get picked up and worked on again. Not a big deal. So, I guess that means we get to open up a new mystery project. I'm kind of hoping it's either a spinning project or that it's socks again. And if it's socks, that it's something I can just do in stockinette. Because I'd like to kind of work on more than just mystery projects, if you get my drift. I'd kind of like to start delving into some of the cat being... Hey! Cat was chewing on these. I had just put them aside to put them away, but I might as well talk about them. They are cross-stitch patterns from Palms and Knot Stitchery. Picked these up at the Bonus Craft Fair here in Calgary 2 days ago, Sunday. So, huzzah. At some point you may actually see me get to use these, because I do have a fancy, to me, embroidery hoop upstairs that I'd like to use more. So, there we go. But I wanted to keep the cats from chewing on it. But as I was saying, I'm kind of hoping that we've either got a spinning project or a sock project that can be very quickly done. The reason being that I do have some other UFOs, unfinished objects, that I would like to get my hands on. There's at least one of them that has been kind of calling my name, a work bag from the, I think, late 1800s, early 1900s. So if I've got the chance to work on them, I'd like to do that. There's also a cap. I think it's crocheted. I think it might be in either the same book or another book from the same era. And it's just one of those ridiculous, stereotypical Victorian mom hats. old lady hats. And for some reason, I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's been on my mind, and I'd love to actually make it someday, and hopefully this year. Hopefully this year. But it won't be this year if I'm, constantly playing catch up with mystery projects. So let's open this up and figure out what it is that we are going to open. I'm wondering if I should be opening it up for my patrons and channel members as to which one I open. Like, take a picture of the inside and then just place numbers on each one in Photoshop or whatever and say, choose one at random. We'll see. Might be fun. But I put these in their paper bags months ago now, so I have no idea what's in which bag. I'm just kind of hoping that the one that I choose isn't going to be dramatic, if you know what I mean. Okay. Okay. That's random enough. It's like getting Christmas every month. It's great. Okay, what are you? Ah! Oh. This'll be fun. Okay. Did I hear a meow? Skein of yarn from Polka Dot Creek. Colorway Alien in their Alien Company line. I have no idea what the Alien Company line is, whether it's the fiber content or what. Polka Dot Creek is really well known for their self-striping yarns. I don't think that Alien here is a self-striping yarn. And this is one that the Husbeast picked out. So it looks like I might be making socks for the Husbeast 2 months in a row. Very lucky guy. And I'd also at the same time I picked up this, had picked up a mini skein of Midnight, which they use for doing the heels and the toes and sometimes the cuffs. This is a full, how much? 463 yards. So that means if I decide that I want to use the mini skein, I kind of have a little bit more versatility as to where I can put it, because with their self-striping sock sets where they give you the self-striping stuff plus a mini skein, you've got enough for at least the toe and an afterthought heel, and I think about a 10 round cuff, and the rest of it is all in the main self-striping. But I'm not sure whether there's enough in the main self-striping if I wanted to do my usual 20 round ribbed cuff. So, at least this will ease me into the Polka Dot Creek. And yeah, that should be great. It isn't necessarily going to be self-striping, as I said. Thanks, cats. Knocking things over. This isn't necessarily going to be self-striping, but this should help actually break it up a little bit. We'll see. If I need a little bit more Midnight, I know it probably wouldn't be the same dye lot, but I could possibly go back down to Polka Dot Creek and pick another one of these up. So not a big deal. And yeah, looks like it's going to be a fun month. Lucky guy. 2 months of socks all at once. I'm going to go rescue my sock blockers from a cat. Hey. For some reason, they like to eat yarn, so the yarn I was using to suspend my sock blockers for drying. Not immune. Not immune to a cat. Hey, kitty, kitty. You gonna have a nap? You're cute. Alrighty, checking in after 4 days of knitting on the sock, and the husbeast is moving around in the kitchen, so you may hear a few thumps and bumps. Maybe not. Depends on how good the microphone is. I decided to make a full video about this process, so you'll find the video somewhere up there. I assume it's going to be out before this one. I'm sure Editing Mare will either confirm this or apologize for my folly. And yes, I'm using DPNs. Yes, I usually prefer circulars. There's a method to my madness, and I explain it in the other video, so go and spread the engagement love to my other videos. Well, come back here afterwards if you wander away, okay? I like the yarn, it's working up nicely, and I didn't expect the striping pattern. It's sorta striping. My gauge is all over the place because of my DPN shenanigans, but I have a feeling most of this will even out in a good soak. I knit the cuff in one night, and I've been chipping away at the leg ever since. It really hasn't taken me very long to get here, though I feel I'd be farther along if I was using my usual circulars and devoting the time to monogamously knitting on the sock. So I'll probably do a control sock at a later time. The current purse sock doesn't count. This sock isn't going in my purse because if I lost a knitting needle, I'd be pretty peeved. I have lots of 2.25 millimeter needles, but my 2.5s are a little light on the ground. In fact, I just had to go out and buy these ones. They're Addy flip sticks. They're kind of cool. One end is the Addy lace needle. The other side is the Addy turbo. I'm a turbo person. I usually use Addy needles. So I'm finding this a lot more comfortable to work with. But yeah, I think most of the leg was knit last night watching Daredevil with the husbeast, so most of it was over about a 3-hour period and a little bit more this morning. Currently working on the sock flap, or heel flap, and I guess we'll see where we are at the next check-in. I may actually have a finished or turned heel by that point in time. It's going to depend, and because I'm gaming tonight, I'm not sure whether I'll be able to actually film any of this, so I'll let you know how it goes. All right. See you at the next check-in. Okay, I will pick you up. This one's being a little bit of a needy baby today. Yeah. You want me to go back upstairs and have lap sits, don't you? You do. You do. And dinner smells great. I'm making a Japanese curry in the crock pot and, looking forward to dinner. I don't know whether we're going to eat the curry for dinner. I'm hoping we're going to eat the curry for dinner. What? So we're now in the last 8 days of the month. Shocking, I know. The socks are off the needles. They need a bath and to dry on blockers, but that's a second pair of socks for the husbies this year. And I noticed when I was working on this one, because this, I do believe, is the second sock, the gauge or tension on this sock is better than this one. Though I do believe the foot is very similar to the cuff. So I have a feeling that the signature needles were really actually causing quite a bit of gauge issues up at the top. Who knows? It'll probably all even out in blocking. So I defaulted back to the emergency backup sock for a night or so during my evening video gaming. And I had actually finished the heel flap. I decided to rip back and just use a solid color as a contrast. Mostly because when I start picking up again for the instep, I'd rather just carry the striping pattern. So I debated unraveling the first sock attempt to the forethought heel mark, this guy here, and just continuing the sock from there. But while that would seriously expedite the knitting of the socks, the cuffs would be wildly mismatched, at least noticeably so for me. The stripes don't need to match perfectly on both socks. I'm not addicted to everything being matchy-matchy, but when one cuff is 20 rounds of knit 2 purl 2 ribbing and the other's only 10, no. No, it's easier just to take another day and re-knit. And if anybody ever wondered if I knit fast with Magic Loop, the answer is a resounding yes. But because my mystery socks are done, I pulled a project out of the UFO bin. And that's what I'm currently working on. It looks like a big doily. It is not a big doily. This is the Royal Society Crocheted Work Bag number 1320 from Royal Society 14, circa 1919. I couldn't find it listed in Ravelry. The neat thing about this bag is that the outside is crocheted and it has a fabric lining with pockets. I have no idea what it'll look like when it's done, so it'll be an adventure. I cast it on in August of 2023, if memory serves, and that's what I was working on last night while gaming. So for those very few of you keeping track of my little group's Final Fantasy XIV progress, we've finished up the patch content after the Heavensward expansion, and we're about to start Stormblood. And it's been really fun listening to my friends' reactions to the story. I'm enjoying it too, but I've been through it once before, so I have an idea of what to expect. Though there are things that you pick up a second time through that you wouldn't have noticed unless you were familiar with the story. Like, if you've watched the movie Tremors with Kevin Bacon, starring Kevin Bacon, rather, I suspect there are very few people who can just call up Kevin Bacon and go, "Hey, you want to watch Tremors?" There are things you notice after the umpteenth viewing, like the fact that at the end of the movie, not counting the little epilogue of what happens after they deal with the graboids, that happens at almost the same geographic location as the beginning of the movie, which is a nice little set of brackets on the whole adventure, you know? So we're about to start Stormblood, and hearing my friends' opinions about some of the characters is interesting and how they evolve over time until, say, the annoying character you want to yeet off a parapet is suddenly your beloved son whom you will defend with your life. We've Also had to deal with a couple of character deaths, characters who were in the liked to loved category. So I'm wondering if we need to take a night and do one of the more comedic quest chains that crops up during the game. For those of you in the know, one name, Hildebrand Manderville. He's the game's nigh indestructible agent of inquiry, inspector extraordinaire. Like, if you crossed Columbo with Wile E. Coyote and Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove. Aside from that, I have sewing that needs finishing. I'm making a corset, which should be appearing in a video soon, if it's not already out by the time you see this. Things are a little up in the air right now because I also have a blouse and possibly a pair of pants that need cutting out. The blouse is on a bit of a deadline. And this weekend is the drop-off for the Ujamaa Grandma's thrift sale. I had moved all the yarn that I was donating out of their bins and into garbage bags so they could chill down in the sunroom and hopefully lose a little bit of scent, because Mum's Elena has a vague odor, probably just dust. Our weather's been all over the place. Yesterday was really windy and 10 degrees, but the day before was sunny and a beautiful 20 degrees. It's windy again today. Prior to the other day, we were creeping up from below -10 because for some reason the foothills have needed weekly snowstorms over the past 3 weeks. So basically, somebody had the audacity to remove their winter tires, and Mother Nature took offense. Around here, I don't swap the tires till the beginning of May, and even then that's a little dodgy. This weekend, though, we're kind of housebound because we'd had some work done on the car, and the skid plate's fallen off, and our neighbor who works on cars is not able to see us until Monday. So he will be fixing up what the shop did wrong. And so that means that I won't be dropping things off until Monday at very least. But needless to say, the yarns had a chance to experience some of the interesting weather shifts around here. And while I couldn't air it out because the sunroom isn't fully enclosed, I'd be concerned about insects or small critters, it should hopefully be a little bit more pleasant to handle. But I think that's about 6 bags of acrylics that's going to be heading out the door, so yay. Somebody was asking in the comments of one of the previous videos if I could do a breakdown of stash used versus new purchases since it's been about a quarter of a year. It's been about a quarter of a year. That's some perspective right there. Though I'm not really surprised. A couple of my friends are a lot more dialed into community craft events like craft fairs, etc. And so I've hit up at least one spring sale where a member of the extended family was selling her handmade brooms. I'll put a link down in the description if you're interested in that. I also stopped in at Fiber Shindig, one of our local yarn and fiber fairs that usually happens twice a year, I believe. Once in spring and once in autumn. I stopped in at that last week before my tabletop gaming group. So at the spring fair, I was keeping an eye out for things that might make good Christmas presents for members of my family. And unfortunately, I didn't see anything that really spoke to me, but the fact that I'm trying to find things this early is both odd and impressive. But yeah, we're at the quarter of the year. Wild. To be really honest, I don't really feel like I've gotten a lot done. I know that I have, but it doesn't feel that way, mostly because I'm not making multiple projects out of larger gauge yarn. My monthly mystery projects are, aside from any kind of spinning, generally using fingering weight yarn. So the time that a YouTuber like Passionate Kelsey, for instance, can make multiple beanies and bags, well, toques and bags, I'm making a single pair of socks or a scarf or shawlette. Sometimes only part of one of those projects. There's also just enough happening in my life that sitting down to finish an entire fingering weight knitting project in a week is not really realistic right now, and I'm still getting over the feelings of guilt when I do sit down and just devote time to knitting, even though that's kind of where the channel is somewhat pivoting. So I'd love to show off a pile of projects and talk about how much I've reduced the stash, but the real story is that I've spun 1 package of fiber, knit 2 pairs of socks, and 1 scarf. So I've converted some wool to yarn and used 3 skeins of sock yarn. I'm also trying to keep in mind that at the very beginning of this project I did a huge stash sort and set aside yarn to donate. The 6 bags of acrylic from that culling are heading to the thrift sale this upcoming week, so that will be out of the house before May. And having gone through it recently, I can say that it's split fairly evenly between my old stash and things that Mum kept that I won't need or won't blend into my stash. What, on the other hand, has come in? Some spinning fiber, 2 pairs of socks, and a scarf. My birthday was in February and I was allowed to go to the yarn stores. So I found 2 pairs of sock yarn at Polka Dot Creek's South Calgary location and some DK weight yarn at Ancient Arts. And then I picked up some fiber from Fiber Goddess at Fiber Shindig this month. Ujama Grandma's is coming up, so I may come home with a little stash enhancement in May. Hopefully not a lot. And I have a sweater for the Husbeast on back order. Some assembly required. So right now I'm kind of keeping my equilibrium as regards my stash. The thing that I have noticed, though, is that I'm a lot more mindful of what I'm buying. When I went to Fiber Shindig, I had a very short list of things that I wanted to look at. Having gone to the event last fall and being familiar with the venue, I know it's not as overwhelmingly big as, say, Ujama Grandma's. Knit City this fall, if I go, which I'd like to, will probably be a different story. So here's the short list of things that I was looking for. Fiber or yarn, I could get one of either. One of each if there was something really spectacular. I came home with some really nice wool, just one package from Fiber Goddess, and a good conversation. And I believe it was with the owner and her spouse. They'd just come back from Knit City in Toronto, and as a former Torontonian, I was really interested in their experience. There was a ceramicist who makes pin cushions in the shapes of small animals, and I picked up a little ceramic mouse that's going to be staying behind glass because he's kind of fragile. We've already had to do a little bit of surgery with some super glue. So, yeah, he's going to be staying in a display case or something. The vendor was out of the pin cushions last fall when I went, so I really wanted to get there as quick as possible once I was in the door. So that was my first stop. I also picked up a new project bag. This one, made with a Tula pink fabric that I find really amusing. It's based on the whole Alice in Wonderland Cheshire Cat theme. I have some of this print in my stash, but only about 1 meter of it, and the Husbeast likes it too, so this way I'm guaranteed to have the print as a project bag for myself, even if I didn't make it. And I really like the way that, I gather this is fake leather. I really like the way that the colors coordinate with each other. Really good. I wish I could remember the name of the gal who makes these, because she had a whole bunch of these also in the fall, and I was looking at them then. Next time I may come back with something more purse-like. She had things that had multiple pockets in it for, hauling around tools and stuff, so that's a possibility. If I don't wind up making them myself. Fiber Shindig isn't happening this fall because of Knit City, so we'll see what that's like. I may have to see if I have a knitting or crochet friend who wants to experience Knit City Calgary with me. My friend Ashley picked up some yarn and a pair of circular needles for her to learn to knit with earlier this month, so there's a slim possibility she'll want to check it out. Slim, which is better than none. If anything, she'd want to go out of curiosity because it's something that I'm hyped up for. But I haven't been haunting the Isles of Michael's over the past quarter. I did stop in with Ashley, but I didn't see anything I wanted to take home. I also made a trip on my own to another location out of curiosity to see what kind of stock they had, and again, didn't make any purchases. I even went down to Ancient Arts for less pointy and thus less ouchy double-pointed needles, and while I did come out with the DPNs and another variation on the DPNs, I didn't buy any yarn, and the yarn is usually my kryptonite. The sweater for the Husbeast is a sweater for him. I like knitting him things when I can get the time. I'm just waiting for the kit to come in. And yes, it's the fox/wolf cardigan from Mary Maxim. I did get their full kit, and I think he's going to look very handsome in it. And very Canadian. I've always wanted to knit a Mary Maxim sweater, and this gives me a good excuse. Maybe see if it's something I want to repeat for myself, maybe in a different pattern. But this will give him a nice sweater that will keep him warm on cool nights. I think that aside from socks, the only other thing I have queued up for him is a blanket or poncho. So I have no problem buying a bit of yarn to make him a strangely topical sweater. So I guess that's me getting you caught up on the quarterly state of the stash. 8 bags of acrylic out, but even with all the knitting, things are pretty static. Though the emergency backup sock and the antique work bag both count as working on stuff from the UFO bin, and I guess that also puts a dent in things. I'm also using some stash fabric to make a really nice outfit, so I think we're on the right track. There you are. Anyhow, I'll see you in about a week, and we'll see how things went. We're filming this a bit late, like 8 days into the month late. Weekends falling anywhere near the end of the month tend to push things out, and a few other circumstances kind of beyond my control also kept me from filming. But let's get through this, because basically we're just doing an update, right? Right. So I've decided we'll open the May Mystery Project today, rather than making you wait a full month. And that way you have an idea of what to come back for next month. But first, let's get caught up. So there were 6 bags of acrylic yarn that were packed up in the car on the 28th, not last Tuesday, but the Tuesday before, and hauled off to Garrison Curling Club here in Calgary for the Ujama Grandma's thrift sale. No footage of that because not only was I driving a car, they whisked that yarn away in a little cart as soon as it was loaded. Bye-bye acrylic. The volunteers for Ujama Grandmas really know what they're doing. They are a well-oiled machine. I've been working on the emergency backup socks here and there, and I'm almost at the toe of the newer sock that I cast on. Not the first sock. This is the original first sock, and it's probably going to get pulled back because this, at this moment in time, is how much yarn I have left. And while I might be able to squeak another sock out of this, I don't think so. For the heel, I'm using an old ball of what I think is Koigu Painter's Palette, but I could be wrong. It could be leftovers from another sock project, but I don't think so. I bought a bunch of Koigu at one point for making stranded mittens. It's a sock yarn, so it lends itself to heels and toes, though it's not a very sturdily spun yarn. It's a little more poofy. So it's a little more prone to wearing through. So I may have just consigned myself to a lifetime of darning these heels. Who knows? Either way, I think it looks good. The purple goes very well with the lighter purple in the sock yarn. I've also been ticking away on the Royal Society work bag, which is in another bag. So I've been working on this mostly while the husbeast and I have been watching TV. I may have to pick up another ball of crochet thread. I'm on the 3rd and final repeat of the stitch pattern, such as it is. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get through it with the single ball that I have left. So I guess we will find out. So that's something to look forward to in May. Possibly June. The finishing of the crochet and figuring out how to line the thing, because the extremely bare bones instructions indicate just cutting a circle of fabric the same size as the crocheted bag, and we'll have to see if I have the fabric for this or if I'm going to have to thrift a bed sheet. I guess it depends on the size of the circle and whether I plan to line the lining. The yarn for the husbeast sweater has not arrived yet, and hope springs eternal that I'll get the notification soon that the parcel has shipped. I'm seeing folks on Reddit report that they're getting their kit orders with Premier or Bernat yarn instead of Maxim's Titan, and that the colors aren't accurate. So I guess we'll see what eventually comes in the mail. I mean, Project Hail Mary is a fantastic movie, and I'm sure Mary Maxim is way over their heads on kit orders. It doesn't stop my FOMO one bit. So I guess it's a good thing I have plenty of projects to keep me busy in the meantime, because I still haven't gotten around to finishing my step-by-step sweater, which is not seen here because it's still upstairs. I'm finding, however, that I kind of want a cardigan more than a pullover these days. Maybe something in a worsted weight, not too thick, but also not too thin. Just the kind of thing that you put on in the evening when the house gets chilly. So we'll have to see. As for sewing, I started a corset project, and when I realized I wouldn't be finished in one day, it was put aside temporarily, and it just hasn't been finished. So I've got all the pieces sewn together, and I just need to put in the boning channels, insert the boning, bind the edges, and put in the grommets or eyelets. It's probably about a day or two of work. However, I do have another sewing project that kind of snuck in and took place of priority. I will tell you more about that in the next update video. Suffice it to say, I can't talk about it right now because it hasn't been released. Fun. There will be a standalone video, so keep your eyes peeled. I would be very surprised if I don't make a standalone video about this because it really is a gorgeous shirt. I've just come to the realization over the past little while that I have a tendency to rabbit hole into what I'm doing and thus forget to move or sometimes even turn the camera on. So it is what it is. I also need more t-shirts. I keep saying that and then not making them because other things get in the way. So that's something that may or may not get made and or filmed in May. We will see. I finished the project that I cannot talk about yet this morning and almost immediately went to start work on a pair of pants and was only rescued from rabbit holing right into that, just going from one to the other, by the husbeast coming downstairs and asking if the cats could come in from the sunroom because they were standing at the door. So, bullet dodged, but there may also be pants. That said, I do need a couple more V-neck shirts that fit properly. So that's the wrap-up for my projects for now. We have a completed pair of socks, and I'm down 6 garbage bags full of acrylic yarn. And when I say it was a lot, it was a lot. I think each bag was probably about 5 pounds each, maybe a little bit more. So I've let go of somewhere between 30 and 50 pounds of yarn. In addition to that pair of socks. So for this quarter, bring it all full circle, that's 2 pairs of socks, a scarf, and a 4-ounce bag of fiber spun into yarn, approximately 30-ish pounds of acrylic donated. What's come in is 2 skeins of sock yarn, yarn for a scarf, and a bump of spinning fiber. So, yeah, equilibrium, I guess, aside from the bags of yarn. We'll talk about the Ujamagrammas haul in a future video because Ujamagrammas happened on May 1st. Small spoiler, I bought more books than anything else. There was one rather expensive purchase, but you'll see that soon enough. The yarn and the fabric purchases, in comparison, were more than manageable. Let's open up the mystery project bag and we'll see what we're going to be working with in May. I chose this prior to coming over here because the box for this is sitting in a place that I don't want the cats getting into. I have a tendency when the cats find something, they're going, ooh, I would like to explore that. And I'm going, I don't think that's a good idea. I have a tendency to put things there so that, you know, if it's lumpy and bumpy, they won't go there. Like there's a section over here where they could get up into the drop ceiling that I've got a bunch of things that they would have difficulty climbing over. One of them has succeeded once, and now there's a couple more little boxes impeding the way. So, yeah, the bag with all of the little paper bags is in another one of those areas that I don't want the cats to get into. Let's see what we got. Oh, nice. We have Ancient Arts Yarns Socknado in Get Off My Lawn. It's another one for the husbeast. Like, seriously, how many of these did I pick that were like him specific? Because I think, if I recall correctly, 2 of the yarns that I packed away were 2 of the Ancient Arts yarns that I had picked up, one for him and one for me. It's sort of the same thing with this. This was one that I'd picked up for him, and at the same time I had picked up another Polka Dot Creek yarn for myself, which was a self-striping. 3rd pair of socks. I'll get these ones for Christmas, maybe. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Either way, it'll be interesting seeing what we make with this for him. As always, thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and I'm looking forward to our May adventures together. Have you been cleaning your craft room? Have you been donating to or attending any spring thrift or craft sales? Let me know down in the comments. How do you think I'm doing so far in my efforts? I'd love to spend more time with my butt in the chair working on projects, but life has a way of interfering with all of my best laid plans. I would like to thank my patrons and my channel members for all of their support. These videos do not get made without their kind assistance. And I'd like to thank you for staying to the end of the video and possibly booping the like button and making sure you're subscribed. See you next time.